Erik Horne here with Andscape columnist Bill Rhoden and president of JJT Media Group, Jean-Jacques Taylor. And we are wrapping up Colorado's regular season. Buffaloes go 9-3, finish off the season with a embarrassment of Oklahoma State, 52-0 on senior day in Colorado. Big games for Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter. Big showing for the Buffaloes overall, finishing 9-3. Though didn't work out for them to get to the Big 12 championship as the teams in front of them took care of their business for the most part on Saturday. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of mini homework and say, how would you describe the Buffaloes season in one sentence? I guess I'll start. I've been thinking about this a little bit. And the phrase I can't get out of my mind is the one that Deion laid on us last year that people kind of scoffed at, but the whole concept of, do you believe? And at the time, we were thinking to ourselves, it's not our job to believe. We're in the media. That's not what we do. We don't believe. We just look at what's happening. But I believe that this was one of the best seasons in college football this year, as far as competency, as far as results, being able to showcase, your talent, your star players, and then convince other players in the pipeline that this is a real sustainable thing. So if the question is still, do you believe? I believe. I believe that Deion Sanders is a competent college football head coach with a competent program.
Yeah, I think for me it was, if I was putting it in a sentence, it would be the foundation has been laid. And the thing is, you needed to win big, relatively speaking, for Colorado this year to give recruits and the transfer portal players an idea that this is not going to fall off a cliff once Shedeur and Travis leave, that this is something that we can now become the new Travis and Shedeur, whether it's making money off the field or whether it's winning games, whether it's being on TV, whether it's being high profile. We could do all of that. And, that's what it is at the best programs. The best players leave. Another generation is already there waiting to replace them, and the machine keeps rolling. And to me, that's what he's set up to do for as long as he wants to be there. Because as Deion doesn't mind telling you, he's never been anything but a winner. He knows how to win. It's just a matter of, does he have time to win? He now has time, and so I expect him to be a consistent winner.
For me, I guess my sentence would be, this was a season where great expectations were fulfilled. Kind of period. Looking at the here and now. The future, I don't know. I think that, in this business, you guys, there are always questions. There are always questions. You may answer questions one season, then there are questions the next season. Look at Ohio State.
Why? Why we gotta look at them?
Huh?
Why we gotta look at them?
We've only just begun, JJT. But I'll just use for an example, or LSU. No matter how great your program is, there are always questions. And that's the price you pay for fulfilling expectations. So I think at Colorado, and we all said this at the beginning of the year. I said, okay, the first year with Coach Sanders, was we were attracted because of all the stuff, and I think it may have been a little deeper for us, and particularly you, JTT, because we started Jackson State. So This has been a progressive book of one chapter after the other, and so I think for us, it's just been these fascinating chapters. I think if you're just like Colorado, here comes this guy, he invigorates our program. But I still think there's, okay, now, where do we go from here? So there are questions next year, all the questions that so, okay, Shedeur is gone. Travis is gone. And now the question is, okay, can we now get a new infusion of talent and blood we are here. Now the next level is going to the playoffs, go to the big boy playoffs. So there's always questions. But for me, it was great expectations that have been fulfilled.
To me, what was interesting about this weekend was, as much as over the past few years we clamor about the show that is Colorado, to me, what made me believe in them this year was that it wasn't just this show every weekend. It was just taking care of your business. Deion being able to stand on his message and then moving on to the next one, even after losses. And this weekend, with all the things we saw from pepper spray to planting the flag and all this stuff that was going on in college football with all these rivalries.
Speaking
And
of
granted,
Ohio
you didn't
State.
Ohio State again. People getting pepper sprayed. I mean, I don't know where we're living now
JD
in
Vance.
2000. Where we're living in 2024, where college football athletes are getting pepper sprayed on the field. But of all the stuff we saw and all the big headlines we saw this weekend, Colorado quietly went out and stomped an inferior football team and went about their business. And to me, that's the sign of a mature football program. You came off of a loss that you weren't supposed to lose that game as badly as you did. Maybe you lose to Kansas, but you come back the next week and you make quick work of a team that is clearly inferior to you, and you move on with the proceedings. So to me, you had a lot of huff and puff this weekend, a lot of people making a lot of noise, and Colorado was quietly one of the more impressive teams this weekend as far as taking care of their business and moving on to the next. And I think that's kind of the story of their season. They were a team that continued to take care of their business and act like a mature football team.
Well, you got to always remember, man, you can't get caught up in the DJ in the locker room and the antics, on and off the field per se, because they're having fun. Deion is, I keep telling people, Deion is the epitome of an old school coach. That's why him and Saban are boys. That's why he gets along with the Kansas coach. They're boys. He's an old school disciplinarian coach, and his approach is old school, even though he can fit in the new world with the players. And he's up to date with what's going on in a new world. But his football principles are as old as Bear Bryant. And, those don't change. And so you will always see a level of consistency for him, because that's what he preaches on a day-to-day basis, not just in football, but in life.
Yeah. I think, you were saying something, Eric, about believing. I have, I guess cynical journalism, or maybe just me. I have a hard time saying I believe in, maybe God. But after that, man, we're all, so do I believe,
I believe in what I see.
No.
I believe in what I see. And what I saw from Deion Sanders and company this year is a team that is competently coached, and they have a discipline to them that, for maybe some unfair reasons that are projected onto this team because of the flash, like you were talking about, JJT, and then all the commercials and such. We didn't associate this team with discipline the first go round, but they clearly, statistically, they cleaned a lot of things up as far as the defense, as far as being able to close out games. And that to me, is something that I believe, because I can see it. I can see the improvement. Yeah. Sorry, Bill, I'll cut you off.
Well, just sort of to complete my thought, Eric.
Yeah,
that's all right, brother. I love you. I think that he has proven himself to be, I'd say, almost a hell of a coach. Okay, he's a hell of a coach. All right. And remember, we haven't gotten around to doing that series about what makes a great coach. But it's a communicator. It's tactics, knowing who to hire for what, knowing who to put in positions. I think he's done all that. You talk about maturity. I think the flip side of maturity, they took care of business against a terrible Oklahoma State coach.
Terrible.
I wish.
Oh, I just saying they're terrible. That's one of the worst teams in the country.
Yes, but I wish a week earlier, to kind of go back, that they would have also taken care of business then against a Kansas team that they probably should have beaten. It was a tough game, but I wish they would have done that, because we talked about this last week. It would have been great. I think the next level for Deion is to play in that conference championship game, is to get in that bigger arena. So I think it gets back to what I was saying about there are always questions. You answer some questions, but now there are more to answer. Frankly, this is kind of random, JD, but I was wondering, I know that we were we were celebrating that Deion got this great high school quarterback coach. I mean, high school quarterback.
Right.
But I'm wondering, I was looking at the Syracuse game when they did a heck of a job of beating Miami, and they
Right.
had a quarterback who I think was an Ohio State castoff. And I'm wondering if to complement this new kid that's coming in, if there could not be a seasoned quarterback who just did not have the right fit somewhere else, but who could come to Colorado and almost kind of be plug and play while this young kid is learning what life is all about. Because, I just keep thinking of, you're losing some heck of a chunks, man. You're losing Shador. This guy's probably going to be like a one of the first, second quarterbacks taken. And you're losing Travis Hunter. I mean, you're losing, and I don't know who else you're losing. There could be some other people that are losing too. So I'm just wondering, and this may be for another segment, if there's some other plug and play, not the same magnitude that he's been doing it, but a couple strategic plug and play kids who can help, Colorado continue to be on this train.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they didn't add some kind of graduate transfer quarterback, a legitimate guy capable of starting, for the simple fact of this. I don't care who you are, even if you're entering school early, there's just very few kids coming out of high school ready to be starters at the Power 5 level in college football.
Right.
For a team with expectations.
Right.
Now, I mean, you go start at a place that ain't got no expectations. Purdue, used to be Indiana, Vanderbilt. You could come in and start at places that have no expectations. But at places that have expectations, we don't have time for you to learn and make mistakes while you're learning.
Right.
Now, this guy's been starting at Georgia's highest level since he's a freshman. So even he's an experienced quarterback. But we all know, man, the college game is different. It's faster. The athletes are better. And it takes some time. And so I would not be surprised at all if they sign somebody who, hey, even if we got to start you week 7 or 8, you got 7 or 8 games to kind of watch and see and observe. And if you go out and you beat this guy out, okay, fine. I don't have to know what you're playing, but you got to earn the job. We're not giving you anything.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I would just like to, as we look at next year, I would just really like to see them maintain and build on this level of success, and I just think that given who they're losing, you're going to really need to bring in some plug and play people.
Yeah, I think they will. My comment about the portal is always this for Deion or for Colorado. If you're a college player and you're not going to Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, what better place is there to go win right now? Right. Like if you're not going to one of those that's a perennial championship contender, what better place if it fits your game and all of that? What better place is there to go to win right now? You're on national TV every week. All the rappers and superstars that you would like to meet, they're gonna come through at some point. It's an experience unlike any other on college football. And while the Dabo Sweeneys of the world say, I don't want you on social media, get off that crap. Here's somebody who's saying, hey, build your brand while you're here and use social media to do it.
Yeah, and it seems like that momentum's carrying over into this next week, which is going to be an important one for them too. It would have been even bigger for them if they were going to the Big 12 championship. But December 4th is when the early signing period opens up. And it looks like we got they got some more commitments coming in that are top 300 guys. Whether it's these guys from IMG that are coming in, London Merritt and Cardi Smith, and important commitments because these guys are on each side of the line, which I think continue to fortify your lines. That was something that we stressed, last year, seeing as how bad their offensive line was and, how they struggled getting pass rush. And then they got a chance to flip some other guys. JJT, I can start with you here. What have we seen in the past week or so, since the Julian Lewis commitment? And I think we kind of heard through the tea leaves that this stuff was coming, that they had some potential to flip some guys and get some guys in. But what does this say about the work that they've been doing? And how that translates as far as the winning and the success they're having kind of tying into the recruiting success they're having.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. What better place if you're going to win than Colorado right now? You can have a DJ in the locker room. You can be your authentically Black self and not have to worry about any repercussions as long as you're performing on the field and doing what you're supposed to do. And so, I'm not surprised programs become hot for various reasons. Oregon was hot for a while because we had the best uniforms in the country. We had a different look every week, and then we were winning. So programs become hot for different reasons. Colorado is hot right now. And so they're in play. Like I said, the only thing holding them back, I had talked to Deion about this recently, was NIL money. Like, I could love you as much as I want to. If Alabama offered me $1.5 million a year and you can only offer me $400,000,
right, then
mama gonna make me go with Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And what he told me was that is true, but we don't want kids whose top priority is NIL because we want you to get NFL money, which trumps any NIL money you're gonna get. And he says that's why we hire the staff that we hire. That's why everything we do is designed to help you get there. But he said, I also teach you how to be a man while you're here. So even if you're not in the NFL, you'll be successful in life if you do the things that I tell you to do to be successful. And so, and so I think they get some kids who will take less to come be there because it's Deion, it's the NFL. And you know what's going to happen if for some reason Travis and Shedeur both go 1-2, or they go both in the top 5. Now it's, you come here, we can put you in the NFL. That's the only thing we were lacking was draft pedigree. Now we show you that we can put you in there. We got proof of concept. So come on.
Yeah. And I guess these playoffs are going to be interesting too, because the Big 12 potentially can prove itself to be also a very serious conference. That this is a conference, there's schools you want to play in, but this is a tough conference. And so that's why I think these playoffs are going to be important. And, it's so funny that Arizona State is going to be playing for the conference championship, because remember, this is one of the teams that Colorado beat last year. They went to Arizona. Yep. I remember talking to the president in the end zone last year as Colorado came back. And my question to the president said, you had an opportunity to get Deion. In fact, he took a lot of heat because he did not pursue Deion. But I remember at the very end of it, I said, yeah, I know that, but I like our guy too, And, turns out that his guy led them to the conference championship game. So I think it's going to be very, very fascinating. Let me ask you this. How many people, who are they losing on their defensive unit? Because I'm thinking if you're a kid.
Besides Shallow?
Huh?
Besides Shallow?
Yeah, besides Shallow, yeah. Yeah, besides Shallow. Well, I guess my point is I don't know who they're losing, but to your point, NIL money aside, if I just want to play, if I want to have the opportunity to play in a high-profile program and I'm not getting oodles of money from NIL, I may get something, but I just want to play. Yeah. It's a very attractive place. If I'm a defensive lineman, I say, yeah, man, I like to play there. If I'm a wide receiver, maybe that might be a little tricky. They do have some really nice wide receivers, but I guess I'm just co-signing what you were saying is that even without getting oodles of money from NIL, you've got, and I do think if Deion stays in this for a few more years, I think he could go into the College Football Hall of Fame at the very least as a coach. If he stays in, I think at the very least. I think he's made this a very attractive place to come to play.
Man, I really don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. And we've discussed this a lot, but you just really have to, if you really understand him, if you let him do what he does without a lot of interference, he will produce what he says is a winner. Right. And so at Colorado, he can operate pretty much without any restraints whatsoever. You ask the AD for something, the AD says, got it, done. I mean, this is his own kingdom. You ain't answering to nobody. And for a guy like Deion, who I tell y'all has had forget you money since 1989, that's important because he don't deal with things that he don't like. And so he's happy there. He understands it's not like this everywhere. And as long as he can get kids to come out there, remember, this is a guy who's recruiting good classes now, and he's still not doing the home visits that most people said he had to do.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to have a discussion about Coach of the Year stuff, and I know a lot of this is objective, but I'm just kind of looking at some of the teams and some of the coaches he'd be up against. In my rational heart, like in my rational mind, not heart. It seems like it would be an award that would go to Dan Lanning at Oregon. He's the only undefeated team in the country. They beat Ohio State. They're probably going to win the Big Ten championship against Penn State. It seems like one of those that would be a slam dunk for him. But I was looking at the award from a standpoint of, what did you accomplish relative to your expectations? And that's where I kind of look at teams like, Shane Beamer at South Carolina. They weren't expected to be, up there. Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Deion at Colorado, the coach at Indiana, Kurt Signetti, and what they were expected to do.
I think that's your guy right there. Indiana been 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Indiana. Come on, man.
Indiana's been football irrelevant for 50 or 60 years.
Indiana's a football school now because I don't know anything about their basketball team. Don't even ask me about what they got going on basketball-wise. I know Mike Woodson's there, but other than that, I don't know anything they got going on basketball-wise. So Indiana's a football school. Congratulations.
Oregon and Lanning, they were supposed to be good. They've met expectations, maybe a little bit more. And the rest of those guys had great years. But to do what he's done at Indiana, I mean, unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last time when I was in high school in Chicago, and there was a coach named John Pont, and he had kind of had Indiana going. But I mean, that's how far you got to go back for Indiana to be serious. So yeah, I agree that. And Lanning, just because. I mean, he's built. He's built. Well, I don't know if you say he's built or.
I would say he built it, but he's taking it to another level.
Right. Yeah. Now, I do think that had Deion put Colorado into this Big 12 championship game, I think that he basically would be legitimate to consider, being in that spotlight. And I know maybe that's superficial just to say how, we do that a lot. One win, if you win, then it's day. If you lose, it's night. But that's just the way it is. But I think if I divide, you're right. The Indiana head coach has got to be the front runner.
Yeah, it's an interesting argument because, I mean, you could say the same thing about Colorado as far as being out in the wilderness. It's like, granted, I know that Indiana football has no pedigree. The last time I remember, actually considering or paying attention to Indiana football, Michael Penix was there in his first go-around in college before he got to Washington. And those teams weren't even that good. It was just Michael Penix was doing some interesting stuff. But, I was just looking at these different teams and I was thinking, who is exceeding expectations?
You can't name any guys on Indiana's team,
right.
Let alone 2 of the top 5 draft picks.
No,
right. No. We're in the tiebreaker phase, and we delineating between greatness. Then you got to go with the guy who has no NFL guys.
I'll tell you who I'm taking votes away from is Ryan Day at Ohio State. I'm saying,
what?
I've been wanting to switch this conversation.
They got to learn how to lose. They got to learn how to lose.
On TV, that was such a great interview with a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
And all this chaos is hell breaking while he's doing the interview. He said, man, they just got to learn how to lose.
They got to learn how to lose.
That was a great
line. But what was disturbing about that, and I mean, when we were talking about Deion, and I was thinking, from what I've seen, Deion would not have anybody planting a flag on his team, because that gets back to this old school thing, like the Eddie Robinson and all the people who would beat the hell out of one of his own players if they did something they considered disrespecting the university, themselves, our coaching staff. And to have a guy like Day not back down and talk about they were defending our field. You know, to me, man, that was just an abandonment of all types of authority. You know, what do you think about that, JJT?
I ain't gave much thought to any of it other than, my dad used to tell me, we had many conversations about this growing up. And I have relayed it to my son over the years that we don't live in a world of pressure. We live in seriously, like we used to have conversations about this. We live in a world of preparation. And when you are prepared, then there really is no pressure because you feel good. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be like, well, I need to perform well on this test to get this A or to get this other thing that I want. But again, when you prepare, you can make it happen. And my whole point of that is everybody ain't built for pressure. Some people are, and some people aren't. And I'm not even taking shots, but people say, oh, I bet you feel bad that Kyle McCord is at Syracuse now. Look what he did. There ain't no pressure at Syracuse. Even yesterday, if you play in Miami, you're an underdog. Your job is, can we ruin their season? That's not pressure.
Right.
Pressure is, we undefeated. We trying to beat this Michigan team that's had our number. Can we do it? And when you can't handle pressure, you 14 for 14 and field goes under 40 yards and you miss from, 2 under 30. That's pressure because you can make them kicks. You got caught up in your head. And so, Ryan Day is in his head. And that's why he coached the way he coached yesterday. And what he needs to do is spend the offseason talking to a shrink about how to get out of his head.
Yeah. Well, anyway, about the flag planting.
And flag planting, I mean, I really, and I think I told y'all this last night in the text, I really think they'll ban it in the offseason because you had the thing at North Carolina, you had the thing at Florida State. I think you had it. I mean, so now it used to be a cute little novelty, but now it's becoming more trouble than it's worth. Yeah. And, to me, the best thing I used to like was when Florida State used to collect dirt and take it home and have a little tombstone, a little grave. Now, that was cool. We took some dirt from your crib. We got the score right there. That was cool. But, we're in a society where it's not just enough to beat somebody. You got to try to humiliate them. Because, the next thing now is what? Those kids coming through line with belts. We beat you on the field. Now we finna really spank you after the game in the handshake line. So it's always something next level to try to humiliate and embarrass. You won the game. I put this out yesterday. When you win, you can literally say whatever it is you want to say.
Right.
I just got to sit there and take it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I just got to take it.
Yeah. And you're right. Everything is right. When you win, it is.
They did for 15 years. We're just on year 4.
I tend to agree with you, JJT, because I think the last straw was when I saw guys were getting pepper sprayed. I'm like, okay, this is going to cross into a place that it's already crossed into a place that we didn't want this to go. So they're gonna have to draw a hard line on it next year. Real quick,
how
guys.
Do you pepper spray? Yeah. Right. Anyway, I know that's another podcast, but
real quick, where would we rather go bowling? We'd rather go to San Diego or San Antonio. I know what you're going to pick, JJT. I know you.
Ain't no doubt. San Diego is the place to be.
Yeah.
No, my vote would be San Diego. We've done the Riverwalk before.
Now the problem is, I think they are tied into San Antonio, but I think they were trying their very best to get to San Diego because, and Deion talked about this in his news house the other day. He thinks it's easier and more cost effective for his fan base to get to San Diego, which is basically once an hour from LA, than it is to get to San Antonio. So they're trying to get to San Diego. Whether they can pull that off remains to be seen.
What bowl is that?
That's the Holiday Bowl, which in history has been a good bowl. I always remember it. That's the bowl where BYU came back from 45-21 in like the last 7 minutes to beat Dickerson and James and the Pony Express 46-45 on a Jim McMahon Hail Mary that ruined part of my childhood.
Yeah. Well, that's all part of the victory. No matter where they go bowling, that's all part of the victory. Sorry about the childhood memory.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Next time everybody sees us, I think we'll know where Colorado's going bowling. But until then, thanks Thanks for joining us once again. Check us out on Andscape.com, JJT Media Group, of course, and we will see y'all next week.